Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the second decan of Cancer. This is being recorded on the 4th day of July, 2026. I have to say that previously I found this decan quite confusing in that this combination of cards, Three of Cups plus Magician, it just felt awkward that a card that is about happiness, celebration, coming together, was ruled by a card that felt more masculine, almost controlling. There are so many layers to the Magician card. And it's really taken me years to unpack this connection. And I hope that I can do that for you today with some clarity and perhaps some new insight. The decks that I have on the table today are the Lily White Tarot, these 3 cards here. This is the Llewellyn Tarot. And then over here, we've looked at this deck before already in Cancer season. This is Le Tarot or Amour Étrange, Tarot of the Strange Branches. And I'm really liking the artwork in all of these decks. I have a few other cards to the side, and we'll just see how many more I introduce into this conversation. I have been spending a lot of time reflecting on the tree of life, and over a course of many Saturdays have been trying to make sense of this paradigm and how the Golden Dawn decks fit into this mandala, and where we find ourselves within the threes in the Great Sea of Binah. And in this particular decan, we are so intensely focused at this point on the tree. It really is quite extraordinary. We have a decan that's ruled by the Magician. So we're in a cardinal sign, so we have a queen. We're in the final decan of this queen, so perhaps she is at her strongest here. Queens are Binah. This is a 3. So you can say that in all of the cardinal signs, there will be a 3 and there will be a time where we get to this place. However, here, the decan is ruled by the Magician. We've just come from a decan ruled by the Empress. And here is the path of the Chariot. We previously were in Gemini. This is the path of the Lovers. And Chariot and High Priestess run parallel paths here. So there's a tremendous intensity to this corner of the tree of life in this decan. And I think we need to really feel into that intensity. Another way that I have interpreted this decan over the years is one of the fullness of a pregnancy, the fullness, the full moon, the fullness of an event where you're just coming to just that penultimate moment where when you turn the corner, everything starts to dissipate. There is such a great fullness here. This has been a full moon card for me for a long time. And I think about that relationship between the gathering to celebrate and honor and dance and sing and be together, but with all of that energy that is spent through singing and talking and toasting and sharing of memories and stories and secrets, there's something that we're giving away. We are both simultaneously celebrating and releasing. And this is indeed the energy of the full moon and what the full moon is about. It's about both the honoring and the letting go. But what does the Magician give us here? And what is the magician's influence on this card? Well, first of all, it is a direct path into the threes, into a Sephira that is the home of the queens. The Sephira of Binah is known as the Great Sea of Binah. And the magician infuses this Sephira with its energy of potential. And I particularly like this card from the Lily White Tarot. It really speaks to something that I know and feel and work with, and that with, how can I say this, with a great deal of respect and humility, that's the word I was looking for, we can begin to use this energy for the greater good, for our greater good. And so into this time of gathering and celebrating, the magician, and I like that verb, infuses a potential. And so I want to ask, if we're leaning into the gathering, the coming together, the actual illustrations we often see on these cards, what is the purpose of this? And are we honoring its potential? Because I think that so much good can come from this particular decan if we do that. And of course, there is also the aspect of healing that is a part of this kind of gathering. And I was mentioning that in dancing, singing, sharing stories, sharing memories, whatever it is we do when we gather in circle, all of this sharing is a type of releasing. And it's through that releasing that we heal, and we also strengthen in the company of others and in the energy of others. And there's something here about the greatness of coming together, the greatness of three. We find ourselves truly in a place of healing. Now, the magician and its energy of Mercury also connects us to Asclepius, magician, the healer, the rod of Asclepius. And in this particular card, if you have experience with hands-on healing and the movement of energy in this sort of practice, you will know that the greatest potential here is for the harmonizing and the balancing and the moving of energy so that wellness can be restored. The Queen of Cups is quiet. She is listening. She is channeling this energy and helping us to move this energy so that we're able to go forward in a way that supports our journey in the highest of frequencies. The sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon, represented by the High Priestess herself, the great healer, the one who teaches us to listen. And these two cards are often compared as Little Priestess and High Priestess. And so the potency of this decan, I feel, carries a great amount of potential for healing. And so during these 10 days of the Three of Cups, wouldn't it be wonderful to gather with friends in celebration, regardless of what that celebration is for? It could be honoring a friend. It could be gathering for a particular phase of the lunar cycle. It could just be about summer. I never have my wee moon journal too far away, and when I read this poem this morning, it really was an invitation for me tomorrow, because this speaks to Sunday and this is being recorded on a Saturday. But this fits so perfectly in this decan. It's called Unfurl. On the first Sunday after the first full moon, after the solstice, you ought to just revel in summer. Let loose your pagan self, eat eggs, wear breezy clothes, look for pussy willows, forsythia, pasque flowers. There is new life all about, and here you are in the thick of it. Everything is bursting. Why not you? Unfurl your fiddlehead. Aaron Robertson, 2013. This was so timely for me to just sit in the energy of that poem and its brilliant connection to this card that comes to us at exactly that time, after the solstice, after the full moon, usually. I mean, it's not so every year. The first full moon after the solstice, the first Sunday after that. Sunday being a day of the heart space, a day of centeredness, a day of peace, a day of the garden. And so I want you to think about that and how you can find this sort of energy. And remember that we can live the Three of Cups, and we can live the potential of the Three of Cups alone as well. This can be something that we set up in our own back garden and find so much joy and laughter and fulfillment in, because of the intention that we place in our ritual, in our actions. This is about connecting deeply with our inner divine self. So what about these two cards? I think there is another clue to the energy of this decan when we look at the ruler of the decans card and the ruler of the signs card. These are two important cards that are often contrasted in the tarot. One carries a more active masculine energy, and the other an obviously receptive, deeply inward, more private energy with the High Priestess. Both of these cards are connected to the supernal triangle. They are a high divine frequency. And so when they meet in this decan of the Three of Cups, how might their combined energy inspire the way we move, the choices that we make during these 10 days, making those choices truly inspirational and deeply connected to our path, to our growth, so that this Three of Cups can become a much needed balm, a much needed healing. And I mentioned in the previous episode that in the Two of Cups, two things, two emotions, two experiences are contrasted, compared, perhaps gathered together. That decan ruled by the Empress guides us toward the Three of Cups in the Sephira of Binah. And both the Empress and the Magician feed into this creative power, this potential that we find ourselves in during this middle 10 days of Cancer. In the Sephira of the Threes, we find ourselves in the container of Mother, a place where our ideas, our projects have space to incubate, to be protected, to be guarded and supported, so that what is growing in the Three of Cups, what we are coming together to create together, feels safe and quite unusually inspired from every direction, from the magician, from the empress, from the high priestess. They're all there helping us to build and to grow. And really, isn't everything we do, every undertaking, everything we do is part of who we are becoming and who we are evolving into? And so I continue to like this idea, the fullness of the Three of Cups, to represent that full moon energy, that idea of as we move towards the full moon, we realize that the natural course is to let go. And so there is this dance between fullness and releasing. It's like the beating of a heart. We expand and we contract. We grow and we release. And part of that energy is simply a dance. We take a little and we give a little. Now let's go back and think about the journey of the Chariot, the place where it comes in the tarot. If we're looking at the three septenaries, it's at the end of the first septenary. It's at this place where we have learned a bit. We're ready to go out into the great wide world. We feel inspired, we feel informed, we feel strong. As I look at the Chariot, it makes sense, all this water. The Chariot emerges from the great sea of Binah. It's almost like the Chariot is being birthed from the waters of the mother, being bathed by the amniotic fluid. We don't always see water in a Chariot card, but when we do, that picture just makes so much sense. This path emerges from the third Sephira. It is lit. It is lit by the magician. You could see the energy of the solar energy, the fiery energy of the magician in the charioteer here. And so I hope you can feel this energy is one of building. It has not become manifest yet, but it is so close to that. And our experience here is simply one of breathing in and breathing out. Drinking in this experience, feeling where we are, and knowing that soon this will all be transforming. This Sephira is the planet of Saturn. It is a strong archetype and is often one that is going to test our limits and our comfort with borders and boundaries and restrictions. And so occasionally in the Three of Cups, we might find ourselves testing those limits and going a little too far and using that power of the magician to forget what the big picture is here. And so while this energy is active, take time to know your creative energy, know your creative force. Use your creative force for the greater good. Continue to build and develop, to gather, to create ritual, to contemplate your purpose, to contemplate where you're going. Be inspired by the number of divine players that are behind you here at this time. This is a rare opportunity, and so use this time well. Bright blessings to you all. Namaste.